Hello everyone, welcome to SV Union High School and Junior College. And all my dear 5th standard students are welcome back to my YouTube channel. Students, we are going to start with infectious disease and how to prevent them from EVS 1 lesson number 23. In the previous two parts, we have already completed infectious diseases, spread of diseases through air, spread of diseases through water. Now in this video we are going to study about the spread of diseases through food. Now students, let's do a small activity which is given on page number 122. They have asked us the question, what do you see in the picture below? As we can see from the picture that the food is kept open. People are being served this uncovered food and they are eating it. The man serving the food is wearing dirty clothes. There is no cleanliness maintained in the restaurant. You may have heard of a number of people getting gastro or diarrhea after eating contaminated food at a function. Diseases spread through food also. This is also called food poisoning. You have seen flies sitting on a dirt. When they sit on the feces of a person who has intestinal disease, the germs of the disease stick to their legs. When the same flies sit on our food, the germs enter the food. If we eat that food, the germs enter our body and we can get the disease. That is why it is important to always keep our food covered. Food is handled while preparing or serving it. If someone who has intestinal disease handles or serves food without washing his hands properly, the germs sticking to his hand can enter the food. Food contaminated in this way can also cause disease. One must avoid eating it. Maintaining cleanliness everywhere is beneficial for our health. So now let me explain it to you in detail about the spread of diseases through food. Foodborne illnesses more commonly referred to as food poisoning. It is the result of eating contaminated, spoiled or toxic food. The most common symptoms of food poisoning include nausea, vomiting and diarrhea. Although it is quite uncomfortable, food poisoning isn't unusual. If you have food poisoning, chances are it won't get undetected. Symptoms can vary depending on the source of the infection. The length of time it takes for symptoms to appear also depends on the source of the infection, but it can range from as little as 1 hour to as long as 28 days. Common cases of food poisoning will typically include at least 3 types of the following symptoms. Like this, for example, abdominal cramps, diarrhea, vomiting, loss of appetite, mild fever, weakness, nausea, headache. Now, how does food becomes contaminated? Occasionally, food will come in contact with the organisms in the fecal matter. This most commonly happens when a person preparing food doesn't wash their hand before cooking. How is food poisoning treated? Food poisoning can usually be treated at home within 3 to 5 days. For example, you can have electrolytes that can be useful. Fruit juice and coconut juice can restore carbohydrates and help with fatigue. What precautions we have to take when you are affected with food poisoning? You have to eat gradually solid food until vomiting and diarrhea have passed, and instead ease back to your regular diet by eating simple to digest foods which are low in fats like bananas, rice, boiled vegetables, fruit juices, etc. What is bad to eat when you have food poisoning? To prevent your stomach from getting more upset, try to avoid the following harder to digest food like dairy products like milk, cheese, fatty foods, highly seasoned foods, foods which are having spicy foods, and fried foods. Avoid sodas, energy drink, coffee, tea also. How can food poisoning be prevented? The best way to prevent food poisoning is to handle your food safely and to avoid any food that may be unsafe. Some foods are more likely to cause food poisoning because of the way they are produced and prepared. If these foods are eaten in their raw form, not cooked properly, or if the hands and surfaces are not cleaned after contact, food poisoning can occur. Always wash your hands before cooking or eating food. Make sure that your food is properly sealed and stored. Thoroughly cook. Anything that comes in contact with raw products should be sanitized before using it to prepare other foods. Make sure to always wash fruits and vegetables before serving. Now students, let's start with a small activity with the question they have asked over here on page number 123. What steps will you take to ensure that dust and flies do not settle on the food in your house? Keeping food covered ensures that the flies cannot sit on it. Dust and other rubbish in the surroundings also cannot enter it. This prevents the microorganisms from entering the food, and the spread of diseases is also prevented. We can even take precautions that the food will be covered properly to see that no dust and flies settle on it. It will be kept in clean and closed utensils in the kitchen. Care will be taken to see that the kitchen is kept clean so that no flies will sit there. Now students, let's start with the next part of this lesson, that is the spread of disease by insect. You may be aware that one can get malaria from the bite of a certain kind of mosquito. When this type of mosquito bites someone who has malaria, the malaria germs in that person's blood enter the mosquito's body with the blood it sucks. If this mosquito bites another person, the malaria germs enter that person's body too, and he too can get malaria. Insects like mosquitoes, lice, and fleas spread disease. That is why we must stop such insects from breeding. Insects like mosquitoes, lice, fleas, bedbugs, and ticks are able to transmit a number of diseases caused by infectious agents or viruses like chikungunya virus, dengue fever, bacteria like plague, malaria. These are some of the diseases which are passing through insect. Malaria is a life-threatening disease. It's typically transmitted through the bite of an infected mosquito. When this mosquito bites you, the parasite is released into your bloodstream. Symptoms of malaria can develop as quickly as 7 days after you are bitten by an infected mosquito. Typically, the time between being infected and when the symptom starts is from 7 to 18 days, depending on the specific parasite you are infected with. However, malaria can't be spread directly from person to person. But once you are bitten, the parasite enters the bloodstream and travels to the liver. What are the symptoms of chikungunya virus? Most people infected with chikungunya virus will develop some symptoms. Symptoms usually begin 3 to 7 days after being bitten by an infected mosquito. The most common symptoms are fever and joint pain. Other symptoms may include headache, muscle pain, joint swelling, or rashes. Chikungunya disease does not often result in death, but the symptoms can be severe and most patients feel better within a week. In some people, the joint pain may persist for months. There is no vaccine to prevent or medicine to treat chikungunya virus. What are the symptoms you have to take care is of take plenty rest, How to get prevented if we are affected with dengue fever, chikungunya, and malaria. Number 1. Cover your arms and legs. Wear light colored clothes. Avoid traveling to areas with outbreaks of any one or of all these three diseases. Use mosquito repellents. Fix mesh on windows and doors of the house to keep mosquitoes out, and use mosquito nets over the beds to avoid bites. Keep the surrounding area free from the garbage. Eliminate the sites that breed mosquitoes by emptying stagnant water from buckets, flower pots, and barrels. Now students, let's have a look for the next subtopic, that is spread of diseases by direct contact. Ringworm, scabies are the diseases that affect the skin. Their germs are found on the skin. If someone else comes in contact with the skin of a person having this disease or wear his clothes, then that person can get that skin disease too. That is why it is better to avoid sharing clothes. Now students, let's have a discussion about ringworm and scabies. The most common way for infectious diseases to spread is through the direct transfer of bacteria, viruses, or other germs from one person to another. Now, for example, as we can see about ringworms. Ringworms are rashes caused by a fungal infection. Ringworm is a common skin infection with a circular rash and is usually red and itchy. We also call ringworms tinea. Ringworm is a contagious fungal condition. It can spread from skin to skin contact with an infected animal or person. If ringworms are not treated, they can spread and the skin can become irritated and painful. Skin blisters and cracks can become infected with bacteria too. Most of the mild cases of ringworm usually clear up to 2 to 4 weeks, but the treatment might be ended for up to 3 months if the infection is more serious. Is ringworm dirty? Ringworm is an infection on the surface of the skin that is caused by a fungus. It is common in children but can also occur in adults. It is usually passed by direct skin contact with another person who has ringworm or by touching contaminated surfaces, dirty clothing, or use of towels. Ringworms can also spread through combs and brushes if the infected person is using. Now students, let's have a look with the next one, that is called as scabies. Scabies is an itchy skin condition caused by a tiny burrowing mite. Intense itching occurs in the area where the mite burrows. The urge to scratch may be especially strong. The scabies rash looks like blisters or pimples, pink, raised bumps with a clear top filled with fluid. Sometimes they appear in a row. Scabies can also cause grey lines on your skin along with red bumps. Your skin may have red and scabby patches. Scabies will not go away on its own. It can only be cured with the prescription medication that kills the mites. Treatment is a cream or lotion that is applied to the entire body from the neck down in most cases. It is left on for 8 to 14 hours and then washed off. In some cases, a doctor may prescribe pills to treat scabies. Treatment may take up to 3 days depending on the medication used. Nowadays, it is required each and every one to take utmost care. Before you leave your home and after coming back, there is a requirement of washing your clothes, cleaning yourself, and plus take away a social distancing whenever you want to speak up with someone. Avoid shaking hands, because we don't know how are these diseases are going to spread from one person to another. So students, we have completed from this lesson the spread of diseases through food, the spread of diseases by insect, and spread of diseases by direct contact. Thank you everyone.